What is up? Sixth man, week 5. We're back. How are my GMs doing? We've got House Lasky in the teal. He's repping his NFL team.
All my teams are doing shit this year. The only thing going well for us is that Jags have got number 1 pick. That's the only thing that's going well in my life in terms of sports.
Well, ended with some positivity. We've got House of 03.
Show them threes. Show them threes. Doing good, man. Doing good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. The Pero Antich Express. Choo choo. How we doing, Mr. A?
Yeah, doing very well. Doing good. Excited to get into it.
Lancashire Lambert. No background this week. Strictly business.
Strictly business and making my way up the leaderboard, making moves now. I'm in serious mode.
Ooh, no spoilers, no spoilers.
He got kicked out the bay.
And finally, last but not least, Mr. Bandwagon Brett Soupray.
I'm back.
How you doing, my man?
I'm saltier than ever. I'm repping team colours again. I change every week. I've got jerseys for days, baby.
Bray, can you see my structure? Because you're wearing the team that we're going to talk about first in the Southwest Division, the Houston Rockets. Holy moly, what a week it has been for them since we last heard the news. We were on the pod last week. News comes in, James Harden traded away. Bray, just before we get into how the Rockets' week was, how do you think Houston are feeling about this Harden trade?
Ultimately, I think they're feeling good because he was being a bitch, man. He was just being such a bitch about everything. He wasn't really doing his job. He's being paid to play, paid to be a star, and he was basically giving up on the team. And Boogie and John Wall had things to say about it. They didn't like it, and yeah, I think they are better off coming into the other side of this. I like this for them. The way. Before the season started, I was thinking, hold on to him as long as he can. And then he acted like a bitch, and I was like, all right, well, he's going to have to go soon, isn't he?
Yeah, and obviously the Rockets get Oladipo. In terms of how the Rockets have done this week and overall, you're 4-8 overall, 1-2 this week. What have you seen from your guys from H-Town?
They're better than their record shows and better than their position in the West. They are right down the bottom of the Western Conference, but their kind of net rating, their pace, they do sit kind of a bit higher in that 20th mark in the league. So you can expect them to improve as they start getting a larger roster with guys who are healthy, but a lot of games where they only have 7 available. And obviously with James Harden, being James Harden, it doesn't allow any of their new guys to really come in and affect the game, doesn't allow the coach to put in his proper plans, which obviously now is available. The upgrade they get defensively with Oladipo could be noted as well. James Harden's not one to play too much defense, and Oladipo is noticeably slimmer as well. So if you Eli viewers might say.
The onslaught of Harden's weight has not stopped. I think since the start of the season, and we're continuing it on here. Do you know what I think is absolutely ridiculous of how engaged James Harden is on the Nets? Clapping on the bench when KD misses an easy layup. I'm not buying one bit of it.
Yeah, wait till Kyrie comes back. And then Kyrie, sorry. And then it'll be really awkward.
I just like the Rockets better without Harden at this point. The only issue that I think they really do need to address is they only have 1 point guard on the roster, really, which is John Wall. And obviously it's great, and Oladipo is essentially the backup when he's not on the floor, but that's something I think they need to address. Maybe try and make another trade, get a young guy in. It doesn't make sense for them to be really bad because they don't own any of their own picks. They traded all of those ones away. So they've only got other people's picks, at which point you just want to try and be competitive, be looking to get into that playing tournament, really.
So the Rockets win against the Spurs, lost against the Spurs, and they lost to the Bulls, who greatly improved recently. Oladipo, 32 points in his first game. Did have 7 turnovers. Have you seen anything from the Rockets in terms of how they're playing? I know there's a lot of players missing and the starting lineup coming back. Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that has been constant for them, Christian Wood is a beast. You look at young big men coming up. You look at him, Thomas Bryant before he went down as well. People like Jared Allen. You think young guys who have great motors and just get buckets. For him, I think losing Harden for him is a bad thing because Harden could easily get 8 assists to just him alone in a game. He isn't going to get that same level, like those easy buckets. He's not going to get as many of those with their current roster, but he's still a beast. On that loss to the Bulls as well, the Bulls were shooting ridiculous. Like, they don't do that very often. You're not going to hit teams that do that all the time. But I think it's a little bit too early to tell what we're going to see in the long run.
What did Chris Wood call Shaq? What did Chris Wood call Shaq again? What was he?
I can't remember now.
He
was he?
It's a fair weather. He was like a fair weather. He was like it's like a general fan.
Simple. What do you call him? Simple?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Did you not see it?
Yeah, casual. Called him casual.
Yeah. So it was on TNT, and Chris Wood was after the game. Chris Wood was talking after the game, and Shaq was like, "Hey, good game, big fella. I have to admit, like, I didn't know you before you got to Houston or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, so you're a Simple." And then like the interview kept on going. I think Shaq just brushed it off, but yeah, called him out.
Oh yeah, Shaq doesn't need to rise to that. There's a reason no one knew who you were, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, you leave him alone.
No, he's good now, but you can't throw shade at Shaq like that, man.
Anyway, if he do it for a few more years, and then you can start talking back to Shaq. But you're still young, man.
Gosh, I didn't know we had so much pro Shaq people. I was pro Chris Wood.
No, Shaq is the OG. Yeah. Ain't nobody better than Shaq. Can we go back to Christian Wood though?
Yeah, sorry.
Guys averaging 24 points per game, almost 11 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks. Bray, can he take home most improved?
He's a very strong candidate for that award. I think what will come down to is whether the Rockets can get into at least that 10 seed. Because if they can't, the improvement doesn't mean that much. And there are guys like Jaylen Brown, who is basically leading the Celtics to a top. What are they top? No, I think they're top actually. They're top of the East. So it's kind of obvious for me there which player you'd have to give it to if those were your choices.
Interesting. Let's move on to obviously another Western Conference team. This team is, in a sense, turning back the clock this year's. Go Spurs, go 2-1 this week, 8-6 overall. How's Lasku? How have you been?
Yeah, Alex, these intros, they're not doing it. When you refer to us as the best team in Texas because the other two teams don't matter. Here in the Alamo City, right? Sorry, just changed.
Finally, you're back. Welcome. It was a short stint with the Clippers. You weren't feeling it, and he's finally back. I'm happy to have you back.
As I was saying, here in the Alamo City, right? I was just actually looking at just the Southwest Division in general because I'm surprised sort of the Spurs still do have a winning record. And I'm looking at the rest of the teams. Grizzlies are 7-6. And then you've got Mavs at 6-7. So I still feel it's a very tight division. Although Rockets are 4-8, you're hoping that would be an upwards trend in the future. So I do like sort of the depth of the Southwest. Speaking of that, when we looked at this division before, it was just after the first week. So Spurs were 2-1. We fast forward a couple of weeks later, they're now 8-6, which is a really, really good record. Previously, I spoke about sort of how their game is sort of is moving at a faster pace. We all knew about the old lethargic sort of Spurs playing in the mid-range with DeRozan and Aldridge, and now how they're getting younger with DeJounte, with Keldon Johnson, with Lonnie Walker, and just how their team has evolved. And let's just take it, for example, this week. They played 3 games and they went 2-1. As Bray mentioned, they split a series against Houston, and then they beat the Portland Trailblazers. Now, the one thing I did like about them is just the diversity in the scorers. For example, against Houston, you've got in the first game, the lost, KJ had 29 points, and then you've got Lonnie Walker with 16, and then DeRozan with 13. Game after, DeMar DeRozan 24, DeJounte Murray 18, and then Pirtle with 13. So it feels like there's always different scorers. And then most impressively against Portland, they had 4 players scoring 20 points, and all 4 of those players were over 30 as well. So this was definitely turning back the clock. You had Rudy Gay and Patty Mills off the bench scoring 20 each, which, wow. I can't remember last time you saw that. You've got LaMarcus Aldridge with 22 and DeMar DeRozan with 20. So it's nice sort of when you do have those core young players to also have some veteran presence around them. And it's really cool how Spurs have struck this really nice balance of having players who you really want for the future and veterans who can help them when they're in a bad patch. Because yesterday they needed the veteran scoring to win that game because the youngsters weren't doing too well.
That Blazers game, very impressive. The Spurs actually made 15 threes, which is actually quite a lot for San Antonio, and the Blazers only made 10.
Yes.
Sorry, Jord. The point I want to pick out to you, obviously you talked about Pirtle, Rudy, and Paddy Mills. So a stat from that game is Paddy actually is first all time in 3-pointers off the bench for one team. He's just overtaken Ginobili. Yep. So he's known for being energized on the bench. You know, you see him whipping the towel out. Is he the best player that you think you would want hyping you up as you hit a big shot, Ed?
The best player hyping you up?
Can any of my GMs think?
There's definitely got to be someone better. I don't have a name.
I'd love Kyle Lowry to be running off the bench. Kyle Lowry's a real good shout of an energy guy. That's Steph as well.
Robin Lopez. I think Robin Lopez is a decent shout as well.
Yeah, he's amazing. His beef with all the mascots is so funny, man.
Very good.
Yeah, Alex, actually, on your point actually about the free throws, 3-pointers, Spurs are 5th from bottom in terms of 3-pointers attempted, which again, I don't mind too much. And I was thinking about this whilst watching a Magic game, how everything has been so centered around driving to the paint or taking 3-pointers. It feels like there's so much space defensively to take 2-point shots. If you've got a really good mid-range, there feels like an opportunity there because either you're guarding the basket or you're guarding the 3-point line. And that's one thing I was actually going to mention about LaMarcus Aldridge as well. So far from the season, he's 55% from mid-range, which is really, really nice and can be a very, very nice weapon. I remember previously before thinking, I don't like how the Spurs play in terms of trying to focus on 2-pointers, but I actually sort of understand it now and makes sense how defenses play nowadays. So that's just also another thing I wanted to mention, just Spurs' ability to play in the mid-range. And also they're 4th from bottom on free throws attempted. So again, they're not getting to the rim as much as you like or getting fouls as much as you like, but they are trying to utilize that mid-range game.
The genius of Greg Popovich, players coming in and fulfilling their role. I mean, can't speak enough of the guy. He's really one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Shout out Becky. Soon come head coach job.
Yeah.
Soon come.
Yeah, she's nurturing into that role. That's going to be really good. Let's go to the team that is the only undefeated team this week. And you know, there's no setting. There's no setting, you know, he's just got the closed door behind. He means business. Let's head over to Lancashire Lambert and the Memphis Grizzlies.
What's behind that door is all the losses, and they're not coming through anymore. That's what it's like in the Lancashire Lambert house.
Can we send that to Stamford Bridge, please?
No worries about that. But yeah, Memphis, what a turnaround of late. We're 7-6 for the season, but we're currently on a 5-game win streak.
I got 5 on it.
And even the defeats that were involved in those before those 5 games that we won, there were back-to-back defeats versus the Lakers and the defeat against my Cavs. So I'm not really bothered about that one. So and this 5-game win streak is the second best streak in the league. It's only bettered by the Jazz, who've got a win streak of 6. So in terms of the games that they've won of late, they beat a depleted Nets without Kyrie or KD, beat the Cavs, beat the Timberwolves, and then 2 great wins this week against the 76ers and the Suns. So it's really good with Memphis at the moment. And Jar is back.
All praise Jar.
He's changed that haircut as well. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah. I saw. So they beat the Suns, and they're wearing those amazing jerseys. Love that. Morant, he comes back. I mean, I was there when I was there. I was watching the game when he came in against Philly. I obviously wasn't there because of COVID protocol. For Jar, we spoke about he could potentially be a first-time All-Star, but Matt, I want to ask you, as a newcomer to the NBA, what do you think that his ceiling could be potentially in the NBA? Is he a multiple All-Stars? Could he be an MVP? Could he be a top 5 player in his position in the point guard role? I know that's a populated position, but could he potentially do that?
I think there's no reason why he can't. Like, look at his build as well. He's so quick, and he gets to the bucket he gets to the line quite a lot as well. And he's not just around the 3-point line. He's quite a versatile player. So yeah, there's no reason why he can't be pushing for multiple All-Star appearances in the future. Definitely. And yeah, he's back in the team now. It would be great to see if they continue this run with him back in the team now.
Shout out to one of the most hated players in the league, Grayson Allen. Hit a big shot against the Suns. Also getting good production from their rookie, Desmond Bane, as well. And is Xavier Tillman, who's got a couple of starts now that JV Valanciunas is out. He's providing some good minutes. But it's looking good for Memphis. I think they could really make a push.
Yeah, I think that there's quite a lot of players who are chipping in nicely as well. Kyle Anderson he's on 12.5 points a game. His career is 5.7. So it seems like players have stepped up when Morant's been out. He's back in the side now. There are some interesting stats around Memphis though, which kind of illustrates their style of play nicely. Even though they are second in the league for field goal attempts, they're 27th in the league for 3-point attempts. So that shows that they're really just getting and scoring most of their points inside the paint. They're 4th in the league for assists, again, which demonstrates that quite a bit. And then defensively, they've actually got the 3rd best defensive efficiency in the league, which is illustrated quite nicely by the fact that they have the most steals in the league as well.
I don't know if you know this, Matt, but that is instilled in them because from the Tony Allen era, the grit and grind. Don't know if you've done your research about Memphis, but defense is definitely something that they value.
I don't think
First team on defense.
Yeah. I don't think there's any more players still on that team. I think they've all left, right? I can't think of any even rookies that are still there.
No, that team is definitely extinct. Who did you say, Waldy?
I said they're all kaput.
Yeah. Bad.
I mean, Zach Randolph. Marc Gasol's still in the league.
I mean, in Memphis, there aren't any.
In the league. They're not completely gone. Zach Randolph is like a dinosaur now. Everyone's I'm not sure many people have remembered it.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you just meant with the.
I meant on the team. Yeah, I meant on the team as well.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Pels. New Orleans down to Bourbon Street with House of 03. First of all, is it Ingram or Zion's team, George?
Ooh. That's the question.
We'll get back to that, but let's see how they did this week.
Okay. So this week, Pelicans are 1-3. Overall, they're 5-8 in the record, and last 10 they've been 3 or 7. So I think, over the past few games, the struggles have definitely been there. They got Ball back from injury, Lonzo Ball, but yeah, I think you find when you're watching them play, especially in the last game with Utah Jazz. There seems to be a lot of confusion. In the Jazz game, they just seemed tired on defense or not reacting in time for plays. There was a play, I think it was Donovan Mitchell was bringing the ball up and then he just drove straight to the basket. All the defenders were facing the other way. And then all of a sudden they were trying to scramble to stop him, but it was too late. He got the bucket and I think he got a free throw for that in the end. And then on the offensive end, it seems like they're doing great at leaving space for Zion Williamson and Ingram, like you're saying, but then the outside players, like again, Ball and Redick, who are just there waiting for the ball to shoot. Like, I feel there should be more movement there to provide further results in that aspect for me personally. But yeah, there's been some struggles in New Orleans.
Yeah, that Jazz loss, team only hit 6 threes in total and shot 23% from deep. I know they've had losses against really tough teams, Clippers, Lakers, and Jazz, but I want to talk about the Kings because Zion in that game had so many nice plays. There was one where he sized up a player called Metu, but I think he's in the Kings rotation, and he literally just elevated and jammed him. I don't know if you saw that, George, but I think he must have had about 5 to 7 dunks in that game, and he really looked like, holy moly, this could be the next LeBron.
Yeah, literally, Zion there has been like doing really well. In the past 7 games, he's getting something like 20 points or more in each game, and at the moment he's averaging 26.3 points a game. So he's, in terms of like performance, like Zion's been doing really well. I think it's especially Ingram, he's been out there and he's been putting results and numbers up on the board as well. I think it's down to their surrounding pieces at the moment is where the struggles are coming from. But yeah, so far from what we're seeing in Zion, like, you can't complain. Like, everyone's loving it.
Here we go, guys. Let's stir some stuff up. So, found some stats on Zion, right? Zion is averaging 58% from the field, so that's 11th in the league. He's averaging 23 points per game and 8 rebounds a game. So he ranks 37th in field goal attempts and 15th in field goals made. So my question to you, George, is he going to demand the ball more, and will he become the primary option over Ingram?
I think, as like referring to your last question, I think going forward, I think eventually it's evident that he'll grow into that role. I think the question is at the moment is how soon that move will come in terms of decision making going forward, because I still think, even though he's performing insane numbers, Ingram is still contributing quite a bit. So I think at the moment, as a whole, the team's happy with that kind of dual partnership in terms of picking who to go through and who to have the ball dominance. But I think, without a doubt, definitely going forward, eventually it'll be mainly Zion's name and Zion's team.
Definitely agree with you on the sense of Pelicans and having consistency. Massive example was Alexander Walker. He got to start against the Clippers and basically single-handedly kept them in the game, had 37 points. And then you look later down in the week against the Jazz, he shoots 4 for 13 from the floor and has a really bad game. So I'm hoping that they can grind it out. They need to beat teams that are around them, and they're going to be playing in the playoffs if they're going to have any chance of making that leap.
Yeah, I've got a player comp for Ingram and Zion. They're basically like a younger version of Giannis and Middleton.
Exactly what I was thinking. That is 100% what I was thinking.
One's a freak and a force of nature, and the other one has got a great touch and could potentially be the closer.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that about Zion, because Zion's ceiling is probably Giannis, and then while I was thinking that, I was like, actually, shit, Middleton is actually quite similar to Ingram. But yeah, that's the interesting comparison, I feel, how Zion's career will pan out compared to Giannis's, but that's for another time.
However, I would say that Giannis is always going to be a way better defender. Zion has potential to be better offensively. But I think Ingram has potential to be way better than Middleton. He could really raise himself above that.
We're going to head to the last team on this division in the Southwest, and that is the home of the Cotton Bowl, the Dallas Mavericks. Mr. Wildy, how you feeling about the Mavs? It's been a rough week for you guys.
Yeah, it really has been a rough week, to be honest. As I said before, they were my number 1 pick, and they're 3rd in the division at 6-7. Finally got Porzingis back, and he's actually playing he looks very comfortable, which is awesome. Playing very well, which is good. hasn't helped them come out with some wins, unfortunately. They are 1-3 this week. They lost to the Bucks, Bulls, and Raptors. Closest game out of those was the Bucks. I'll get into that in just a second. They don't have Josh Richardson. Tim Hardaway, he's day-to-day with groin injury. He did play in one of the games, and he's due to play tonight. But if you have a groin injury and you're day-to-day, even when you are playing, you're not going to be 100%. And Maxi Kleber's out as well because of COVID. And those are three really cool guys for them that, were helping them win games and help with a really good start. So those three guys are out. Thank God they got Kristaps back, because if they had all four of those guys out, then, it'd be even worse. But, Luka, he's averaging 27, 9, and 9. So he's nearing a triple-double on his averages, which is amazing. The outputs that he's had this week have been ridiculous. Against the Hornets when they won, Luka had 34, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists. And in the Bulls loss, he had 36, 16, and 15. I mean, these numbers are just crazy. But it's, I said I'd come back to this Bucks game. That was a really close game. And one of the things I mentioned about them last year, a recurring theme about this, Luka Mavs, is that they're finding it really hard to close their games. Bucks game was the closest. They haven't got, their best lineup out there because they've got so many guys missing. And, Willie Cauley-Stein, I'm going to call him out because, there was a play towards the end of that where Kristaps was taking a three. And then Willie Cauley-Stein was completely by himself underneath the hoop and just ball watching. And he just stood there and let DiVincenzo from the Bucks run all the way across the court and box him out. So he's just daydreaming out there in a really pivotal moment of the game. And that's causing them to lose. They don't have all of their players, as I said. They're not going to be blowing guys out with the squad that they have. And when they can't close games, we're going to continue to see this trend where they're losing games they should be winning. You lose to the Bucks, fair enough. But if you lose into the Bulls and the Raptors, that's tough, really. Luka, after the Bulls loss, again, recurring theme, he's such a leader that he's really taken ownership and saying that he's, he was being selfish. But bro, you had 15 assists. You're the best player on the floor, and you're playing with mainly scrubs from your bench. What are you supposed to do more than 15 assists? You're the man, and you put out the stat line that was amazing, and you guys lost. And dude, it wasn't his fault. I don't know what more you're supposed to do with that lineup than 15 assists. Then he goes ahead and calls himself selfish. It's crazy to me, but it just kind of shows the kind of head that he has on his shoulders. So, hey, look, it's tough. That's the breakdown.
Wildy, can we talk about the Bucks game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's talk about the Bucks game. So, at the end of the game, there's a missed three-pointer. Burt gets an offensive rebound, kicks it out to Porzingis, and he misses the three at the end of the game. And you can see Luka voicing his opinions, and he was obviously really angry about what happened. And then the next two previous games, they obviously get blown out. In games, the Raptors, obviously the Raptors are a little bit better now, and then the Bulls haven't been great. Do you think that he's slightly getting more wound up about the situation? I know they don't have a full squad, but how do you think his feelings are going to be moving forward? Do you think he's going to become more and more frustrated? Do you think they're going to get back on track?
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely going to become more and more frustrated if he's putting out these numbers and the wins aren't filling up. When a shortened season, if you're losing three times out of 4 in 1 week, you can't have too many weeks like that in the Western Conference and expect to make the playoffs. I think they're definitely, worst case scenario, they're going to be making the play-in tournament. But when you have one of the 3 best guys in the league in Luka, that isn't what you should be playing with, toying around with in terms of where you are in the standings. you know, him voicing his opinions, you know, in the game and getting emotional and everything like that, he obviously has one of the highest usage rates in the league. And I mentioned about some of their guys not looking that engaged, even in a close game in the final minutes. Maybe guys are just too reliant on him, or they're switching off because they're not being used enough within the offense. And, you know, that could link into where Luke is saying, hey, you know, I'm being too selfish. If he's moving the ball around, forgetting what the assist totals are, if he's moving the ball around and people feeling that more involved, then play to play, they're going to be more engaged. So, you know, that could be what they're looking to do. The only thing that is saving them, and the reason why, is some of this, you know, that they're even, you know, in these games, is that, you know, they're sixth best and fewest turnovers, basically. So they don't turn the ball over, and they're giving themselves the best opportunity to win that way. But as I say, they can't close out games at the moment, and that's been a recurrent thing.
Yeah, let's talk about the sporting cast. So, a really funny comment from Rick Carlisle is they lost to the Bulls, and in the interview that he said, we really missed Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah.
In the next game following, in the Raptors, Tim Hardaway, 27 minutes, 0 points, 0 of 12 from the field, 0 of 6 from three. I only had 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and Ed, because you questioned me about this, he had 2 turnovers in this game. So keep that stat line in mind, okay?
Yeah.
So you've got 0 points in 27 minutes from Tim Hardaway. Willie Cauley-Stein, who you brought up previously, his dunk conversion rate is only at 68%. So my question to you is, what is a worse stat line? 0 points in 27 minutes as a starter coming back, or having a dunk conversion rate of 68%?
What does
Willie Cauley-Stein is...
What does dunk conversion rate even mean?
That means you go up for a dunk and you miss the dunk.
Yeah,
68%.
So 3-point percentage, but is for dunks, basically. Yeah. That's definitely on Willie. I mean, I want to talk about Tim for a sec, because obviously I mentioned that he's day-to-day with a groin injury. In a season where he's 100% healthy throughout the whole season, he's not the most consistent player, but he's someone who's really important for their team, because he could go off at any moment. You know, he's a bit of a microwave for them. So him coming in on a day-to-day basis and having an injury, you have a bad stat line, that's going to happen. Like that, for me, that's quite excusable. But to be a guy that's meant to be a rim runner, athletic, big man, and you're missing dunks all the time, dude, if you're not making dunks, if you need to just put a soft touch on it and get a layup, fine. You know, I don't know. I obviously have no clue what's going on with him, but those numbers cannot continue. So that is the worst stat line, 100%.
3 out of every 5 dunks.
It gets worse. It gets worse, bro. He's got a 64% conversion rate on alley-oops.
Oh, so he can't catch. This is the problem.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're ending on the negative, but that wraps up Southwest. So let's head to the other division, the Central, and the home place of the Cubs, the Blackhawks, and the Bears, to Chicago. So the Bulls, 2-1 this week, 6-8 on the season. House of 03. How are the Bulls doing?
Well, man, you know what? I gotta say, I'm feeling good. Like, I don't think you can feel bad in a situation where you're bringing games back. That's all I'm saying. So our current record is 6-8. In our last 10, we've gone 5-5. So that isn't amazing, but it isn't terrible, which I'm happy with. Like, I'm happy to start getting those games under us this week. Like I mentioned before, 2-1. Of those 2 games, they also managed to beat the Mavericks, which I'm so happy with. I think last time we discussed the Bulls, we did have an injury to Markkanen, and he was exceptional in that last game. He finished it with a double-double, 29 points and 10 rebounds. So, yeah, and of course, Zach LaVine is being LaVine, and you've seen him in previous games. Like, that guy is performing game in, game out. Yeah, say what you will about the Bulls, if you're looking at their games, they're always it seems like they're coming more consistent and they're battling hard. Like even with tough teams, like the final scores are quite close. I think you mentioned before in the last episode we filmed, sometimes they have gotten unlucky, like that big performance by Levine, and then unfortunately he missed that final shot. But
against the Clips,
yeah, against the Clippers. Like, with that being said, from the results we're seeing, like I do have high hopes for the Bulls, even though people like say they haven't got a chance and everything. Who doesn't love an underdog story?
Jordan, I'm with you. You know, I think Chicago Bulls have turned the corner. Yeah. I'm really on the Chicago Bulls bandwagon. You've got great production from my man, Thaddeus Young off the bench. And also, coming into season, topical, Denzel Valentine has shown up out of nowhere. And he's putting in work, you know. Happy Valentine's Day from Denzel. Yeah, you know, he's coming in. But George, the biggest thing that I found from the Bulls, right? Last year, the Bulls were 27th for points per game. Mm-hmm. This year, they're 4th. So what is the biggest difference for them this year?
I think the biggest difference is definitely that intensity, the fight to actually put in that effort. I think last year they were definitely testing things out, and this has pulled over to this year in terms of what players are best to put where, like their point guard.
Kobe White.
I'm losing names out of my head now. Yeah, Kobe White. They were unsure where to play him and fit in and how it will work. But I think now they, especially off the backhand from Levine's performance right at the beginning, they are putting in a fight, and it's hard not to love to watch, you know?
Let's talk about Billy Donovan, because I think the reason why I feel like the Bulls have turned the corner is because of personnel. Jim Boylan, the head coach from last year, he was obviously not liked in the locker room. And the way they set up, he was sort of putting players in positions to fail. So, you know, he was getting Otto Porter to drive when he's a spot-up shooter. And now you've got Levine being into those positions instead. And that's how I think the Bulls offense has been able to be successful. And to be honest, I'm going to say this. I think the Bulls are going to make the playoffs.
Hey!
Yeah, I think the Bulls can make the playoffs this year. Billy Donovan.
Watch this space, bros.
Can I speak to Bray, because you know he's actually a Bulls fan. How are you feeling about your team this year, despite not having them as a squad?
So I've been a Bulls fan for longer than you guys, and I know with this team that they are not making the playoffs. What you're seeing is luck. Zach LaVine has been fantastic, but let me just read out the plus minuses for everyone on the team this season. Zach LaVine, minus 66. Larry Markkinen, minus 47. Kobe White, minus 59. Wendell Carter Jr., minus 74. Otto Porter Jr., minus 46. Like,
can you also repeat their record whilst you said all that? Can you say what their record is?
Bruh.
They're 6-8. They won.
Oh, the worst fan ever.
This team is too young. This year is not it. Next year, if they can work out how to play team defense, maybe. But at the moment, I don't think they've got it. I think the record will start to show, especially when they go up against harder teams. Like I think they've been lucky to beat some teams that are better than them, and they've also shown that they can easily lose to teams than they should be being. So I just don't see the consistency. And don't get me wrong, I love the Bulls, but it's not. Trust me, it's not it. This is fake. This is fake.
Can we have some sort of forfeit? Can we have some sort of forfeit if this happens? Can we need some sort of forfeit for Bray if Bulls do make the playoffs?
Ooh.
Bro, you're going to end up being a Wizards fan with Annie. That's some BS. Back your team. I'm telling you right now. It don't matter. Talk about Miami, whatever. You back your Bulls. They're making the playoffs. We're moving on to the next team. Right.
He's got trust issues, man.
Don't drink.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Brave, stop it. Stop it.
So, to a team that was predicted to not do very well, to the team that is definitely supposedly a contender, how's Lasku? How's life in Milwaukee?
Before we get to that, can I ask you, why are we speaking about the Bulls before we're speaking about the Bucks? Like, in Match of the Day, they don't show West Brom before they show the big guns. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why the Bucks are being disrespected like this by having the Bulls being spoken about ahead of them. I just want to sort of air my grievances with the board. But anyway, since it's sort of
the board is me, so
anything
you
to
are
say for yourself,
speaking to
Alex?
me. So the reason why is because we want to give coverage to every team, and we don't want to talk about all the contenders all the time. So we're having Chicago have the headline spot in this division. Now, if Bray doesn't want to take it, then that's up to him. But I'm going to back his team at least. So let's move on.
I don't get that. You said we're not going to talk about the big teams, then you say Bulls are a big team. But I don't know. I'm confused. Anyway, as we were, the Bucks. So, Bucks. Last time we saw the Bucks, I think they were 1-2 or 2-1 at the start of the season. 3 weeks later, they are now doing quite well, actually, as you would imagine Bucks to do. But we all know with the Bucks, no one cares how they do in their regular season. Sort of like the Clippers, no one's going to care what they do in the regular season. It all comes down to the playoffs. A couple of things I want to point out from the regular season, because I mean that's where we are right now, is that they're currently 5th in field goal percentage, which is really, really good, and 2nd in 3-point percentage, which is where you'd want to be in the NBA. They currently got 41% from 3. Only the Clippers are doing better at 44%, which 44% is wowzers. I don't even think I can make 44% of layups, never mind threes, but I can. That was a joke. So the impressive thing is they're also shooting the 3 at a higher clip as well, but they are bottom 10 in free throws attempted and 3-throw percentage. And on that point, I want to get to Giannis. And I'm not sure if I'm just I'm not sure if I'm just over-exaggerating this, but Giannis's free throw percentage is currently below 60%. What is more concerning is every year for the past 5 years, this has been going down at the same free throw attempt rate. So 5 years ago, he was shooting the same amount of free throws at 77%. Now he's at 60. So that's a stark drop off. So where we give Giannis a lot of credit for obviously his ability to mature and develop, his point production, his shooting, his 3-point percentage is now 30%. So it was getting better. It still is getting better. However, we do have to call out when he isn't improving, and the stark drop off in his free throws is really disappointing, especially if that's easy way to get buckets. And that's one of his fortes, going to the rim and causing that sort of contact. That is something to note, I feel, for Giannis. So that's just my sort of thoughts on the Bucks.
You've literally, that was my question I was going to ask you, because he went for he shot 1 out of 10 in the game against the Mavs, which is ridiculous. I guess I just wonder, and from a newcomer, Mr. Harris, do you think that from seeing Giannis this year, do you think that he's improved? Do you think that he can make the jump? Like, from an outsider, do you think he's actually getting as much coverage as he's done for the past 2 years?
No, and I don't think he's having an MVP level season either. I think there's already other people ahead of him in the race for MVP. And like I just said, the stats point towards it as well. And the Bucks aren't going to win the championship. So we've said this before, Giannis isn't going to win MVP again.
What do they need to do to make the jump? They bring in Holiday, and they tried to bring in Bogdanovic, but that didn't work. Middleton's having an improved year. You've got DJ Augustine off the bench. You've got the Lopez brothers there again. What do they need?
Only one of them's there. Only one of them. The other one's the Wizards.
Oh, apologies. One Lopez brother. They're down to one.
So thing.
I think when you move one of them, their powers just diminish. You need them together to get the full form. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, you get like that card that
the Super Saiyan.
2 cards together and get this massive. Yeah.
How dare you?
Anyway.
That's Dragon Ball Z, not Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, it's Alex. Alex just doesn't know what he's on about half the time.
God damn it. So yeah, just on this Giannis point, and obviously it's pure speculation, but statistically, in a season where we're seeing him go downward and he's not having an MVP season and all the rest of it, and how they need to improve, is Giannis potentially saving himself for the postseason? We've credited LeBron James in previous episodes for picking his spots, in years where it doesn't matter what seed they are, as long as they get to the playoffs, it doesn't matter. LeBron's just going to run through everybody and get to the finals anyway. I'm not saying that Giannis has that ability, but we found last year that they obviously had one of the best regular seasons ever. It was amazing. They managed his minutes really well. He only averaged 31 minutes, which is amazing for the outputs that he had. But is this time around he's starting to save himself so that he doesn't get injured in the second round and have to have Chris Middleton bail them out and scratch one game against Miami? So this step back in production could be an improvement in mindset and mentality moving forward for what they want to try and do.
Fair. A couple of things on that as well is, if a down year is 27, 10, 5, 1-1, gosh, I'll take that any day of the week. So yeah, I do get the point there. It's still a down year, but it's still, his stats are still ridiculous. And yeah, it's a fair point in terms of what is the game plan when we do get to the playoffs, because the cop-out answer has always been, all right, if we play Bucks in the playoffs, we secure the paint and make anyone else but Giannis have to do something. Build a wall around Giannis, make everyone else have to do something. And that quickly links on to the point, actually, again, on the Nets game as well, with the last shot, how the last shot was called for Chris Middleton. In that sort of last-minute situation or last-second situation, it tends to be ISO ball, and you tend to give it to your best sort of ISO ball player, mid-range shooter, which in the Bucks case is Middleton. I guess now you do have more shooting and more options outside of Giannis to make some shots or do something. DJ Augustine, I mean, people might trash him. I'm not, because, yeah, I like DJ Augustine from Magic days as a backup point guard, but whatever. He can still make a shot. He got that shot, the shot that won the game against Toronto in the playoffs first game 2 years ago. You've got now Drew Holiday, who can potentially also make some plays as well. Dante DiVincenzo's got 10 points a game, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. So now they've got other players who can sort of get buckets. So you're hoping the other players will pick up around. And Giannis will still be honest, but we'll just see what the supporting cast does. Because, and as you were saying, he could be rest himself for playoffs. We could find peak Giannis in the playoffs, which will be something, but we shall see.
One point on the Chris Middleton taking the last shot. You'll notice in crunch time, Chris Middleton was taking most of the shots. Giannis was the screener.
Yeah.
Basically every single play, which I love.
Yeah.
Don't give Giannis the ball outside the 3-point line, because then they're just going to build a wall in the paint. Put Chris Middleton in action, get into his midi, which is butter, or flip it to Giannis, who's now going downhill with a defender out of position. Like, that's just such a better way to run. The last shot from Chris Middleton was trash, but the actions before that were great.
My question
this is when you can make those mistakes. They're building themselves so that they're going to be good in these situations when it comes to playoffs.
My last question, because I know we're on the Bucks for a while, my last question on the Bucks is, if that does happen, if the screener is Giannis and they do switch that defense, usually the best defender is on Giannis, but then if they do switch, that best defender will then be on Middleton. So I'm thinking then of the matchup, how it will go if they do switch, if the defenders do switch, how that will play out and what the defensive strategy could then be. But that's just sort of my...
In my opinion, then they would swing it to Drew. And then with Giannis having a lesser defender on him, Drew can get him an entry pass so that you can do bits down low.
Maybe.
At least that's movement.
Funnily enough, the reason they did so many screens is because DeAndre was the one they put on Giannis.
Yeah,
and
that's not
DeAndre Jordan was just waiting in the paint, so it meant that he never came out for the screen. And Middleton had a great game because he was just getting to that elbow, bang, get into the elbow, bang, get into the elbow, bang. Like, and you see players like Paul George do it. You see players like Kawhi Leonard do it. You see Chris Paul do it. That is the shot for closers.
Resurgence of the mid-range. Spoke about earlier. The mid-range is coming back, baby.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Paul Pierce. That's a very nice clutch shot that he used to like to take as well. Alex, I know you love Paul Pierce. So
I can't game. Right, let's move on from the Bucks. Yeah. Also, Giannis, please guard KD in the clutch. Don't be on someone else. I want to see you guard KD. Right, let's move on to potentially one of the worst records in the NBA. I think it might be the worst record in the NBA. Detroit Basket bombs. The Wildsmith, how are the Pistons doing?
Terrible. Yeah,
Terrible.
to your point about if they have the worst record, there are other teams that only have 3 wins, but they have played more games than them, so they've had the opportunity to lose an extra 2, so they're 3-10. Yeah, look, it's really sad, man, because we were all talking yesterday about Blake and that performance, out in Miami. Really tough because, obviously at his prime, as such an athletic player, and he'll always be immortalized for those highlight plays that he had and all those dunks that he had when he was with the Clippers. Puts him in the kind of realm with these athletic guys that are super exciting that unfortunately never won a ring, like Carter, Dominique, Sean Kemp, these kind of guys, which is awesome. I mean, I really like Blake, which is why it's sad that we're at this point of his career where he's just had too many surgeries, a lot of mileage on him, and now it's just got to a point where he's just taking a lot of threes and not being able to, use his inside game as effectively because he hasn't got that explosion anymore.
He's definitely not healthy, Wildy.
No, not at all. But he's actually getting a lot of minutes. Like he's got some of the most minutes of their team. There was a piece that was talking about how Dwayne Casey being the head coach and everything, that they're really making sure that their young guys are earning their minutes and not just being given them because the front office decided that they could be something. So they're making them earn it. Blake is the only person that is having the consistent minutes, regardless of what his output is, which is very understandable because Blake is a seasoned vet and has earned the right to play through his slumps and get back into form. Whether we see him get back to form is the big question at the moment. And also, I think Blake being out there, even if he's playing bad, a defense that is trying to play Detroit, they're not looking at Blake saying, oh, that's a 35% shooter, oh, forget it. They're thinking, that's Blake Griffin. So defense is will still react better to him. So having him on the floor will allow for the younger guys that are having these more limited minutes to have more production in the time that they're there, so that they can really see who is better. Because if you just have a bunch of young guys out there, then it's all going to be a bit of a mess and you're not going to see who's good and who's bad, basically. Because, if they're all just trying to compete for minutes, then it's going to promote selfish play. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough, really. I mean, Jeremy Grant, obviously a leading scorer. He is actually playing very well. He's their main option, obviously, and needs to be. But I can't help but feel, again, as I've mentioned before, that he really does feel like a number 2. And with Blake, will be ending his last year next year. It's obviously a very big contract because he got this contract. It was a 5-year contract with the Clippers for $170 million. Once Blake is out of there, I feel that that'll actually be quite a good destination for a more sort of superstar. The team will be built up quite well because their young guys that I'm just talking about would have had an extra year and a half under their belt. Jeremy Grant will be there to lay the foundation. They can get that next tier guy. Then that could be quite a good looking team because, I mean, they need to be looking to the future because presently it's not nice.
One thing I've seen with the Pistons, I know Ed brought this up, and he's talking about the resurgence of the mid-range, is I've seen that their field goal percentage is really low, and they actually sometimes shoot better from 3 in the game. That's just some general notes I've got from the Pistons. I want to talk about the positive thing for the Pistons. I think we need to keep upbeat. So let's talk about Jeremy Grant, who's 2 first names and a man that you can trust at the moment. Okay, because we did bring it up. He's averaging 25 points per game, 6 rebounds, and he's also, this is really impressive, he's averaging 1 steal a game and 1.4 blocks per game.
Absolutely.
I spoke about the most improved. Could he potentially challenge Christian Wood? And do you think 3 years, 60 million is actually a good contract for him?
Yeah, I think it is, because with the NBA becoming more popular, these deals that we're seeing are going to be. We should expect to see this kind of money, because that's what the NBA is worth. It's building up. Obviously, it's taking a bit of a hit because of what happened with COVID, obviously. But I think that somebody like him, who is obviously giving effort on defense and doing that side of things, he's working on both ends of the floor, which you don't even get from some of the top tier guys. I would say Jeremy Grant is kind of second tier if you're looking at stats wise. So that's really good, and obviously reflects really well on the young guys as well, because if he's already got his money and he's still putting in that effort, then it shows that he really cares. And that is the kind of guy that you want on your team and to be your top scorer. So yeah, it was a big contract. We were all a bit worried about it because he was borderline third option on Denver, because obviously it was him and sort of Michael Porter Jr. on any given night, depending on what happened. But he was a real impact player for them, and we just weren't sure if it was going to translate into stardom as being the main guy on a team. Statistically, for him individually, it has, but also, of course, we know what the record is. But we've obviously already covered Blake, and when you've got, they were meant to be the two guys, and when Blake's having a tough time with it, it's all on Jeremy at the moment, so it's a bit tough. But no, I think that he's justifying that contract a lot more than we might have been, than we might have originally thought.
I also want to give a big shout out, and I know that you guys will support me on this, to Derrick Rose. In that win against the Heat, he really took over and he hit a lot of threes in that second half. And it was just great to see, because Derrick Rose is somebody that had that massive injury. And to be honest, his career could have been a lot different. So very interesting. Hopefully he continues on. Let's move on to a team which has struggled with a lack of games recently, but is still sitting at the top of the East. And that is where the Indy 500 takes place, and that's the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah,
Indiana
Pacers. They're one of my better teams. So riding the coattails at the moment, as you say, struggle with lack of games. Haven't got too many players available. They've got Evan. I always get Evan. Say Evan Turner. I mean Miles Turner. Every time. It's not even similar, but yeah.
Could you imagine if he came back?
Yeah, anyway, Miles Turner has been out recently with a broken hand, but he's day-to-day. TJ Warren's out, Jeremy Lamb's out, and yet they still have a positive record. They've been doing great. They've been soldiering through. They're a lock for top 6 in the East. They're just better than a lot of teams. And also, it's not like they beat teams that are better than them. Like, they're always hanging around. They've got some absolute guns in Brogdon and Sabonis. When they're playing, you just go, well, they could definitely win this. Doesn't matter who's available. So yeah, very pleased with the old Pacers.
Obviously, they get Karis LeVert in the trade. He's out indefinitely because he has a small MRI on his left kidney. They've had players, obviously, hope he gets back soon. He's a baller. They've had players step up in the absence, including one of your fan favourites, Bray, Dougie McBuckets. So, out of McDermott, the Holiday brothers, or someone else, like, who is going to step up in Karis's absence, do you think?
McDermott's the obvious choice because there's a similar positional fit, and Dougie McBuckets makes threes at quite a high rate. I mean, he's a poor man's Joe Harris? Like, did you go that far? I mean, he just fits in well. He's a good role player. He's a good piece. I don't think he's really going to be replacing Karis LeVert until he gets back. And obviously, prayers up. He's been very positive as well. He said, this trade saved my life. And hopefully it's nothing too serious. He's back on the court soon. And I think this solves a load of their chemistry problems as well, because now we know Sabonis is the best player. We know that the best guard is Brogdon. And Levert can easily slide into, I think, the same role that he had in Brooklyn. It's him and the bench mob, and he just runs the offense because he's an absolute gun. Like, you just kind of, I love the move for them. I think it made perfect sense to get involved in that trade. And I think when they're healthy, they're going to be a legitimate threat in the playoffs because this group have been together for a little while now. And one person I do want to mention, Nate Bjorkgren, their coach, is an early candidate for Coach of the Year because he has completely changed their shot selection. Like last year, it was all mid-range and they were good at it, but obviously we know it's just not the most efficient way to play these days. And they've completely flipped that around. Their offense is much improved, and it's as a result of him, basically. So, big shout out to Nate.
Props to him, man. Props to him. Also, I don't know if you guys know this, but the reason Indiana actually got involved in that James Harden trade is apparently they spoke to Oladipo and he says, I'm going to decline the contract extension. And that's why they wanted to move him. So I thought that was really interesting.
Look what they got for it.
In the play. Oh, sorry, go on, bro.
Look what they got for it. Like, you see, like if he was going to walk,
you got to move him.
Yeah.
There were rumors that Oladipo was talking to guys on other teams during the playoffs, saying, "I want to I want to run with you guys." Like, what? So it doesn't surprise me that he told them that.
Marty, could you imagine? He's in the post game. He goes into the other locker room and he's just chilling.
And good win, guys. Good win.
Like just start stealing their jerseys and putting them on, trying to get on their bus.
Remember when you dunked on me? That was great. Where's my contract?
He's got out lockers. Yeah, that's mad.
Oh,
that's so funny, man.
Talking about moving people, let's move on to our last team, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have a sticky situation at the center position. Interesting what they're going to do. Mr. Harris, let's close this out. How you feeling about Cleveland? This is for you.
Well, you do say that there's a sticky situation at the center position, but they have plenty of centers now. Obviously got Jarrett Allen involved in that Harden deal, and Andre Drummond, JaVale McGee, they're not short of them, even if Kevin Porter Jr. Off he goes. So see what happens, really.
Well, that's why I'd mentioned the sticky situation because, well, Drummond had a monster game in your only game this year, in this week. He had 33 points and 23 rebounds, and he even shot 13 from 19 from the free throw line, which is something that is unheard of for Drummond. That was his first game after Jarrett Allen was acquired. So it's Drummond's contract year. Are they going to move him? Are they going to move him? Are they going to move Jarrett Allen?
No, I think they'll keep Jarrett Allen, won't they? He looks like he's the player going forward. They can definitely start to build around him. He was pretty good at the Nets, so it looks like they've got a promising option there out of that deal. But yeah, like Drummond, you said that game he had, like, I saw somewhere that he's the first Cavs player since 2004 to get over 30 points and over 20 rebounds in the same game. And he leads the NBA in rebounds as well. But yeah, with the Cavs, they haven't played much this week with obviously those 2 games against the Wizards postponed. But I don't know if you'd want to watch them anyway, because they score the lowest points per game in the league at 99.5. And they have the second fewest points against with 103.9. So you're not seeing many points scored in games involving the Cavaliers. So they're not really missed really this week.
They kept the Wizards to 0 2 times this week, so that's good, because of the postpone 0-0. Let's talk about Kevin Porter Jr. Incident came out last week. Apparently he had an outburst. This was all because the team moved his locker to make way for Taurean Prince, who is a guy that's popular in our fantasy league, not in a good way. He reacted by throwing some food at the GM and getting into some fisticuffs. Yeah, a lot to process.
Hashtag JL Smith.
What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Hennessy.
I think there's two ways to look at it, and other people have covered this as well. They need the locker thing is weird at the moment because they have to have like the space and whatever. So there are some like extra rules. So people like get mixed up with those. I don't know what the actual rules are. I don't think anyone really does, but you can say that can be the get out of jail free card, the excuse. Oh, it's a COVID thing. That's why we did it. But yeah, I'll be fucking pissed if someone came in and was touching all my shit and moved me out. I'd be like, whoa, what's going on, man? I mean, bit of a challenge when you're out though.
He's already low down enough on the rotation. I think, yeah. If someone's messing with your stuff and then just moves you in, I mean, it could be a big time player. No disrespect to Torian Prince. He's not the most big time player. And if you see him coming in, and he's in your place, I might throw some food too.
So what a way to start a fight, right? Just throw food. It's like J.R. Smith with soup. Oh gosh.
Can I just say, Matt, you said that stat line was, you said it was 30 and 20.
33, 23 rebounds.
Amazing. And so he was the first player in a certain amount of time to have got that. Bray, I want you to guess who the last person was that did that. It was a Bulls player, and it wasn't Joakim Noah.
How do you know this?
Who on the
I
Bulls?
watched the game.
Who on the Bulls could get 20 rebounds? This is where I'm.
It's amazing.
Oh wait, I think I might know it.
Is it? Oh, okay. Who would it be?
What year is it roughly?
I think I might know it.
What you say is the heyday.
Is it C Booze?
Yes! Scarlett Boozer!
Hold on.
Inconsistent man in NBA history, not officially, but as a spectator, only that guy could get that stat line and for no one to remember it. Because the next game, he probably had like 3 rebounds and 6 points.
He must have been insane to get 20 rebounds. Like the 30 points, like he was known to kind of go off a bit with his weird post moves and whatever. But 20 rebounds, damn! He was source that game.
That's not the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing is him spray painting his hair.
Beijing. Oh,
Is this always going to be mentioned every time we bring up Carlos Boozer, the spray paint of the hair?
You can't get away with it.
Oh, so
Can't get away with it.
So bad.
Back to the Cavs. You guys are still 6 and 7 at least, Mr. Harris. So you're near about 500. I know it doesn't look promising, but you won't want to know this week.
True.
So and that's that.
Both of Matt's teams. Matt went 4-0 this week for his 2 teams.
Yeah, very good stuff.
That's why. Well,
Let's
climbing up that ladder now. Come on.
Oh, great transition. Great transition because we've wrapped up the 2 divisions. Let's talk about what's going on with the leaderboard. I'm hoping it's updated. Yes, it is. Well done. Okay, cool. We're going to go from top to bottom. Nice. Okay, so in the numero uno place, no changes there. House Lasku, 50 wins, 35 losses. Your 2 best teams are the Utah Jazz, who are rolling right now, and the Clips, even though you don't like them because the Lakers are hotter. And your worst team is the Orlando Magic, interestingly enough. At second place, we have House of 03. Join the house, baby. 45 and 40. Your best team are, that's right, the hotter sister, the Lakers. And your worst team is the Pels. In third place, we have the Para Antic Express / One Bar Wildy. Your best team, is still my Sixers, interestingly enough. And your worst team is Detroit Basketball. And then we go to fourth place. It's all changed, guys. It is all changed because in fourth place, moving up that ladder, we have Lancashire Lambert at 35 and 42. Your 2 best teams are the Memphis Grizzlies, who obviously won 5 in a row, and the Golden State Warriors, who had a great win against the Lakers last
Golden
night.
State.
Very impressive. Warriors. And your worst team are the Washington Wizards, who haven't really played this week. So hopefully they will get. And guys, we have a new last place. Let's put the salt in the air. It's Mr.
All those
Salt
L's,
Ray.
all those L's.
33 and 42. Let's see where it's all gone wrong. Your worst team, Minnesota Timberwolves, and your best team are the Boston Celtics. Yeah, only the Celtics and the Pacers above 500 for you, Bray. How do you feel about what's happening? Are you panicking?
Not at all. So I added an extra column. I was the one who totted this up this week, and I added an extra column. Games played. I am 10 games behind Ed and Jordan. So, you know, like
The more games to lose.
You're roughly 15% lower win rate than I am. Like, come on. I ain't worried about you. Come on.
I mean, look, the Heat have been a disappointment. I expect the Heat, the Celtics, and the Pacers to all be top 6 teams with winning records in the East. And at the moment, I've got my 3 teams in the West are currently sat in the 14th, 13th, and 12th positions. They're like right at the bottom. Like, I'm looking around, looking at the leaderboard, going, okay, the Thunder, are they going to be better than my teams at the end of the season? Probably not. Are the Spurs? I don't know. Take it or leave it. Like,
How dare you?
like I just don't think even the Pelicans are like right there in the mix are better. I'm just no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to keep up. Like, come on, this is ridiculous.
Panicking.
Panicking.
will have a better record than the Timberwolves, I guarantee.
Oh yeah, bet.
Okay,
that.
yeah, you're right. The Timberwolves will be probably the worst team in the league, but I'll accept
Having the Rockets and the Timberwolves is a tough beat.
Honestly, I think things could definitely look up for the Rockets. I think the Rockets can be better than the Thunder and maybe one other team. I think the Kings. I don't know about the Kings. I'm a bit worried. And anyway, like just the Heat. If the Heat gets some more wins, it gets them in the table, and that's all. That's fine.
We're wrapping it up. We're wrapping it up because you're not even repping the Bulls and you're talking about the Heat. Okay. No, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. But Bray, you know, like you said, you are 10 games behind. So we'll see if that turns around next week. That has wrapped up division discussions. We're gonna take a quick break and move on to shoot your shots. Okay, shoot your shot time. It's the 5th installment of this recurring segment that everybody loves. And when I mean everybody, it's just all 6 of us. So the first matchup we have is between Ed and Jord, and that will be hosted by Mr. Bray. So Bray, would you like to explain the question, please?
Yes. So this question comes off the back of Kyrie Irving's recent detour to his father and sister's birthday party, which caused him to miss time, DNP, for personal reasons. And as a result of that, I believe he got a 50 grand fine and forfeited salary for the games that he missed. So it was a very expensive party as a result. So Ed and Jord, I want you to put yourself in Kyrie's shoes. Let's imagine it's not your sister or your dad's birthday. It's just this sick party that someone's pitched to you. How good does the party have to be to justify that did not play personal reasons? So you're an NBA player. How lit does it have to be? You got 1 minute on the clock, and Ed is going first. Bear with me while I set the time. Give you a little bit longer to think up some answers. How good is the party going to be?
Will Sage be at this party? Are you burning Sage?
Yeah. They're definitely Sage in the beginning.
Jord.
He's got that action.
He's been practicing it.
Let me know when I can go.
Ed, when you're ready, you have 1 minute.
Cool. So, let me answer that question very quickly. In House Lasku, we do not do no DMPs for no house parties. We're here to win regular season games, all right? That is the reason why Doc Rivers is out of here and we've got Ty Lue. We are doing back-to-backs this year. There is no more DMPs. There is no more load management. You know that lemon pepper Lou? That ain't a thing no more. We're here to win regular season games, to get that number one pick and get the hot sister instead of the Clippers, because that's who I'm going for. So yeah, to answer your question, what would the party have to be? There is no party that House Lasku is willing to take for those DMPs. We're here for the wins, baby. Oh, damn it. I forgot my killer point at the end. Damn it. Oh, fuck. Anyway.
Oh, well, it's gone now.
You missed your shot.
Yeah. I'm just going to say it now just because I really want to say it. The only party we're going to be attending is the Larry O.B. party. Anyway, go. Damn it. I'm so pissed off I missed it, but anyway.
Yeah, Bray didn't hear that. He can't factor that in.
That's fine.
Ed, did you get invited as guests to the lobby?
It's just going to be him and the trophy.
It's like the Kobe picture. You know the Kobe picture when he's there with a trophy? Like.
Yeah.
And we need someone to drive the bus, you know.
All right, strong start from Ed there. George, what you got for me? Go when you're ready. You have 1 minute.
Okay, now, so party, it's got to be wild. It's got to be crazy. Like, I've lost a lot of money for this. So to add in the throwback, I'm bringing back Shaq, baby. From that early question, Shaq's going to be there. He'll be the DJ. It'll be insane, okay? It's going to be wild. On the beach, drinks, and at the end of it, we're not going to remember the middle part. We'll remember the beginning, don't know what happens in the middle, and we'll wake up with a swan and a cone on its head. No. And that's a crazy party.
You're out if there isn't a swan with a cone on its head.
You'll just be like, wait, what?
George's going to be calling his PR people, and he's going to be like, why isn't there a cone on the swan's head? Right now.
Crazy party, man.
To be fair, it could be a good PR move. You do anything with the swan and the queen will call you out.
Yeah.
Don't mess around with those swans. They protected baby.
Yes.
Yeah, don't try this at home.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Break a man's arm or blow up a man's house.
Yeah.
So comes the decision: do I want a Shaq DJing and something with a swan and a traffic cone, or are we locking it up? If you bear in mind, this is from Kyrie Irving's perspective. Kyrie Irving doesn't know how to lock it up and win regular season games, which is why George's taking a point on this one. Because yeah, come on,
We're talking about parties.
even if we're losing the money.
Right, second batch up. This is going to be hosted by Mr. Harris. Can you take it away and make sure?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this Monday just gone was Blue Monday, which is apparently the day of the year where those January blues just hit hardest. So what I want to know is, which present NBA player do you want to cheer you up when you are down in the dumps? And what are you going to do with them? So, Alex, Wildy, who's going to go first?
You're picking, bro.
Good choice.
Ooh, let's hear Wildy first. You've got a minute on the clock. Go.
Go now? All right, so I am picking Serge Ibaka because Serge Ibaka, really good energy guy, really, really funny. He's got his own cooking show. So if I was down in the blues or whatever and I had to spend some time with an NBA player, I'd probably go on his cooking show. He'd cook me some funny crap. He made Kawhi Leonard a cow penis pizza famously, and if he can make Kawhi talk and be funny and do all that sort of thing when he's a mute, you know, we'll have a lot of fun together. So I like Serge Ibaka, a good energy guy and a great personality, and yeah, that's who I'd pick.
Nice. Alex,
Am I ready to go?
if you're ready now.
I'm ready, baby. Stay ready, ain't gotta get ready.
Off you
Okay. I am going for the King, LeBron James. Why? Because he's always in a good mood. You see him joking around with Kobe at Team USA, knowing his play calls and his ISOs and pretending to be a fake announcer for Kobe. And then why you got to talk about Taco Tuesday? You know, it became a meme, but he made it fun and funny. So, you know, he's just got a lot of energy. He also did a prank for Blaze Pizza, which he owns, where he pretended to be some guy called Ron and looked like LeBron. And somebody said, oh, you look like Dwayne Wade. And he still went along with it. As well as that, he's got video bombs with the Heat. He's got handshakes with the Cavs. And he's a fun guy to be around. And he's just a relatively good teammate. And I'm just happy he's at the top of the league because he's a great ambassador for the sport.
Ooh, tough one. I like the thinking with LeBron, but I'm going to have to go with Ibaka because if this is a guy who can cheer up Kawhi, then he's going to cheer up anyone, isn't he? So, yeah, going to go for Wildy with this one.
Okay.
Is it 1 and 2?
I'm 0-3.
Oh,
This is not looking good, man. This is not looking good. That fiver that you gave Wildy gave you beforehand. Okay.
Can I just say, on this, if there was because we were doing like current players, if there was a Hall of Fame, you'd have Jalen Rose on there, and you'd also have Shaq as well, which we keep mentioning Shaq for God's sake, but that's true. I also had Kyle Lowry, Blake Griffin, and Klay Thompson as potentials.
Oh yeah, Clay's funny.
Clay's hilarious. Clay is kind of like Kawhi in that he's this introverted goofball that if he didn't have a camera on him constantly, like you wouldn't know he was funny, but all of his teammates say he's the funniest guy that they know.
I think he's not like funny trying to be funny, like he just does stuff and you're like, that's fucking hilarious.
Actually.
Yeah.
Like that time where it ended up on the news randomly about.
That is amazing.
That's amazing.
So that concludes Shoot Your Shot. Wins for Jordan Wildy. I might get the first pick for next year because I haven't won a game. Okay, so I need help. I need help. I need to see who I'm playing next week. I need to slip some money to who's ever hosting mine because I'm in trouble, boy.
So, new segment on Six Man. We are calling it Pass the Rock. So what it's going to be is that one of the 6 men is going to pick a NBA player and compare it to a musical artist or vice versa. And we're going to have discussion and see who we would do the comparison with and make our comparison. So none of us know what the comparison is going to be. This week it's Alex. Alex has got a player and an artist in mind, and we will try to critique his thinking. So we don't know what it's going to be. This is all a fresh reaction from us as well. Mr. Ward, take it off.
I know we spoke about potential clues, but to be honest, my thinking hasn't really got time for that. So I'm just going to break it down, and I'm going to give you the 2 people that I think are are very alike. And the 2 people that I have are Chris Paul and Chris Brown. And I will tell you why. Okay, so the first segment is great at setting people up. Chris Paul, 7th all-time on all-time assist lists. Has always got a good assist-to-turnover ratio. He averages 9.5 assists in his career and has never had more than 3 turnovers per game in his career. And he's definitely going to be down as one of the best floor generals in the game, sets the tone and the pace of the game, and he's done this under 5 different franchises. Why is Chris good at setting up people? Well, if this man is on a feature, you know the song's going to be taken to another level. Chris Brown, he's won 4 Best Collaboration Awards in Soul Train in 2014, 15, 19, and 20. In Billboard, he's been nominated 4 different times for Best R&B Song on a Feature. And for the Grammy, he's been nominated 11 different times on a collab under Best R&B Song, Best Rap Performance, and Best Pop Collaboration. So, you know, there's a lot of variety. The second point that I would like to make is big mistakes in their career where they were never able to get over the hump. And both are obviously exceptional in their field, but it could have been so much different if it wasn't for their mistakes. So Chris Paul, huge turnover in Game 5 against the Thunder when trying to draw the foul up 2. Thunder end up stealing the ball, and then he also ends up committing the foul on Westbrook on a 3. Westbrook hits all 3 throws. Thunder win the series 4-2. And if the Clippers win that game, which they were up, they go up 3-2. Game 6, the choke against the Rockets with James Harden on the bench. So the Rockets trailed by 19 points late in the 3rd quarter, and the Rockets end up outscoring the Clippers 40-15 the rest of the way. And the Clippers shot 4 of 22 in the final quarter. And Chris Paul has to take some of the ownership because he did lead that team. With Chris Brown, you've got the incident with Rihanna, which we won't get into too much, but he had just released popular songs like Forever With You that had established him as one of the biggest artists in the world, and he received a lot of backlash, which is deservedly so. But I think that it ruined his career trajectory because fans were able to boycott his music. 2011, he storms off the Good Morning America set because he basically smashes a window because he's angry about the interview questions that he asked. This is obviously one of the most popular news stories worldwide, so it boosted his bad reputation. The third and final point is working with young talent and the new school at the end of the career and transitioning. So Chris Paul, he was traded to the Rockets. He played with James Harden. He improved his ability to play off ball, made a lot of threes. They make the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors, and they're playing a strategy to end up beating the Warriors. That was working. And if he doesn't get the hamstring injury in that Western Conference Finals, you might see him with a ring in Houston. He gets traded to the Thunder. He made them into the playoff team when everybody counted them out, and worked with Shea and Schroeder to help develop their game. He's now on the Suns, and he's helping Booker learn how to win. And it's not all about averaging 30 points or scoring 70 points in a game. For Chris Brown, it was a mixtape before, but he released Fan of a Fan, which is an album with Tyga. This was an amazing album, and Chris had to adjust to Tyga's style, and definitely carried a lot of the album. You've got a lot of big features on there. It's like Schoolboy Q, Ty Dolla $ign, Wale, 50 Cent, Pusha T. He released 2 projects with OHB and Section Boys, who are from the UK. Big shout out from the grime and trap genre, which is called Before the Trap and Attack the Block. And he also just recently released a joint project with Young Thug, who is really popular at the moment, and he's had to adjust to his style to mesh with Young Thug. So those are the reasons that I think that Chris Brown and Chris Paul are very similar. Just want to know what you guys' thoughts on that.
I like it. I like the comparison. Yeah. You laid out all the places they align. However, there are some, I would say there's some discrepancies. Like Chris Brown, he's got the Grammy for fame, whereas Chris Paul hasn't got to that highest peak. He hasn't got the shit. So they're kind of like, you could say Chris Brown's doing better there. And then I think the team stuff, the collaboration stuff does lend into it, because Chris Paul, he's been an all defensive player as well. He's got that versatility too. So they're a little bit yes, a little bit no. I'm not 100% because I think Chris Paul is like his basketball IQ is one of the things that makes him so great, and I don't hear Chris Brown talking about the technicalities of his music in quite that way. Obviously, he makes absolute bangers, but I don't see him going into the weeds with that kind of stuff.
I will say this. The man released his first single when he was 16, Run It 2004. He's been in the game for almost 17 years now at a consistent rate. So might not be intellectual with speaking about it, but I think that his awards show. And the point that you said about the Grammy, he's a really big artist, and obviously he's received a lot of backlash, but I think a lot of people would probably dispute, and obviously if his career had gone differently, he probably would have a lot more Grammys if the incidents didn't happen.
I guess so, yeah. Obviously there is the popularity contest aspect of it, but I have to agree. He probably doesn't deserve to get those Grammys given what he did. It's a pretty pretty heinous one, that one. And Chris Paul hasn't got quite that mark on his record. Yeah,
they before they start giving out those awards again for somebody that's had an incident like that, they need to know that the public is ready to accept that person winning an award again. There's like a certain amount of recovery time and then some because of that reason.
I think it is the perfect what if though, isn't it? Like it's the what if with Chris Paul and those turnovers, and the what if with obviously the incidents with Chris Brown that he still had this great career. It could have been so much greater. So yeah, that's where the similarities align the most, in my opinion. That what if element. I just do love it how you compare it Tyga to Shea and stuff like that. It's just early in this segment where we see comparisons like that.
Yeah, I've got to give a shout out to Section Boys who are UK, which is a bit of a weird project that he did. And I think he did it. Maybe he jumped on it just before Drake, or probably around the same time that Drake was, being introduced to BBK and stuff. But that's what I'm saying as well. The thing that I really found interesting is Chris Paul has developed his game. He's obviously on that vegan diet now, and is transitioning into being more, I would say he doesn't take on a bigger role as what he used to. And I think in Houston, he was very much like, I want to be off ball. I want to be playing a different type of way. And with Chris Brown, it's like what was popular then to what is popular now. Like he has had to change so much in how he sounds. And like, I know that fans, obviously they want an artist to be the same, but in order to stay relevant, you've got to change. So yeah.
Question: Which Chris Paul duo best matches up with Fan of a Fan?
So who has Chris Paul carried in his career?
Oh wow!
I mean, bro, that's really difficult.
Okafor?
DJ.
New Orleans?
Yeah, pretty much.
You say DJ?
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan. Maybe Okafor, maybe DeAndre Jordan. I remember Chris Paul shouting at DJ, like, shoot the ball. Like when...
Yeah, I
remember that time. Yeah. So, yeah.
That
Okay.
probably makes more sense, actually, because obviously Tiger still has a career without Chris Brown, and so does DeAndre Jordan, whereas Okafor is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
I can't.
Okafor. Oh, it's the wrong Okafor.
That's the wrong
one.
It's the wrong Okafor still.
Okay, cool.
Okafor.
That wraps up Past the Rock. Be great that we can bring this feature back when you guys find the next comparison. Ed, 24-second shot clock.
You guys want another installment 24-second shot clock?
Yeah, let's have it.
Fuck yeah.
So, Mr. Harris,
Mm-hmm.
the question is, so I'll give you a little bit of time to think whilst I get the, So it is the top 50 leading scorers from last year in the NBA. So top 50 leading scorers. If you get number, let's say 40 to 50, I'll give you an offensive rebound, and there's only one offensive rebound per round.
So this is points per game.
Yeah, points per game. So the lowest, number 50, got 18 points per game. So
Okay.
anyone more than 8 who averaged more than 18 points per game in the regular season or whatever. Yeah. So your 24-second. Oh shit, I got my calculator up. Your 24. For fuck's sake. Oh, here we go. 24 seconds. Start now.
LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum, Chris Middleton, Devin Booker, Chris Paul. It's gone fucking blank, man.
Time.
Oh,
Oh, you
my
got some
God.
decent numbers. Right. So George.
Okay.
Cool. Your time starts. Let me just write your name, Jordan. Now.
Yeah. Curry, Lillard, McCollum, LeBron, Anthony Davis, or Jason Morant, surely. Zach Levine, I'm going to go for as well. James Harden. Curry didn't play.
Time.
Oh, man, why did I freeze?
Right. So let's bring next. It is Matthew.
Right.
Your time starts now.
Harden, Giannis, Bron, Irving, Luka, Levine. Jesus Christ, I'm just like blanking now. AD, Antetokounmpo, Middleton, Butler, Bam Adebayo, Jokic.
Time. Show. That means Mr. Wildsmith is next. Your time starts. Oh shit. Now.
James Harden, LeBron James. Oh Jesus, Kyle Lowry, Anthony Davis, Trae Young, John Collins.
Stop.
Oh, this is terrible. Man, I suck so badly.
Mr. Ward starts now.
Embiid, Sabonis, Ingram, Zion, Giannis, Harden, Durant. Oh, Durant, no, not Curry. Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Middleton, Gordon Hayward, Tatum, Jaylen Brown.
But in fifth place, fittingly, we've got Wadi with 5 points. So we've got a point for every place.
Terrible, awful.
In fourth place, we've got Jordan with 7 points.
Mm.
In third place, we have got Mr. Ward with 9. And then first and second, it's a 1 point difference. One person got 10, the other got 11 between the two Matts. And Mr. Bray takes it with 11, Matt Harris with 10.
It's so difficult to say names fast enough. I mean, you're like, names.
All right, 11.
It's like that kid at school who's upset that they got a B instead of an A.
So Bray takes home the first installment of the 20-second shot clock. Kudos to Mr. Bray. Well done. So that wraps up Sixth Man for this week. As we transition past the James Harden trade and we move forward to hopefully more games played next week. From the Sixth Man, myself, and all the other GMs, it is over and out.
Peace.
Take it off, Ed.